We're live, guys. Welcome back to another Thursday Millionaire Lunch with Michael Franke, my co-host. My name is Caroline Kane. We are in here to help answer questions for you guys. This is a Q&A that we do every Thursday, 12 o'clock Arizona time. What the main goal is to make sure that we can help more homeowners stop foreclosures, help them rebuild their credit, get into the next chapter of their life when they're going through a pretty tough situation. We have lots of exit strategies. We will help them stay in their home. Actually, we've talked about this a bunch. I've helped more homeowners stay in their homes than we've ended up buying properties, which is always the goal. And when it does not work, we end up buying a house and either fixing and flipping it, keep it as a rental. Lots of strategies there. But I've learned most of this from Michael Franke. So I asked him one time, hey, would you be willing to do a lunch with me and answer some questions for other people? So that's what we're here for. With that being said, Michael, how's it going? It looks like it might be a little bit chilly in Kansas. What's cooking up on your end of town?
Oh, it's going good. Going good. For whatever reason, there's a certain time of year where I just keep my jacket on, even if it's not cold inside. I don't know. It's just a weird thing us Kansas Cityans do, you know?
I hear it. I remember being in the Midwest. Well, I just wanted to say, I was talking to a few people. I wanted to show you guys. I think we got 27 people on here right now. It's awesome. I was replying to some people on Facebook because I posted the wire that came in on a deal that we did. And I want to just let you guys know that was marketing to get you guys to show up. That is not the net number that came through. But that's what we did on a flip. And that's gross. So that's not what we ended up walking away with. That came from helping a homeowner out, setting them up for success. And I just want to show you guys what is possible through helping people and going after that niche data. So that is definitely not the net number on everything. For some reason, I have to pay my private money lender out of that. There's expenses and things that go into it all. But it was really cool seeing that. It's just like, I know you've talked, how many foreclosures have you stopped since you started doing this, Michael, roughly?
Well over 700 now.
Well over 700. And your first deal you did, you made more, so I netted from that deal more than I made from a full-time job, which is incredible when I was in the Army. And I was like, oh, that's just like what Michael said when he was a teacher. Would you make 50 on your first deal you ever did?
50 on my first door knock ever, which is not going to happen for everyone, but it went to show me, because I'm a very stubborn person. I'm slower to learn than most people. So the good Lord was like, this guy needs a win on the first one or it's not happening. So my first 2 door knocks, I actually got deals on both of them. And now it probably takes me about, 20 or 25 door knocks to get a deal. But yeah, there's so much that's possible with these deals. I actually just got off some one-on-ones with people in the niche community, and there were some new members on there. And one of the guys was like, yeah, I was at a basic W-2 before. Made decent money. He was making like $80K a year, which is pretty solid for a W-2. But he's like, I just started following yours and Caroline's and some of Bobby's content over the last few months. And before I joined the community, I actually did 8 deals. And then right now, I have about $300,000 in profit. That is an escrow at the moment. And it's like, that's what I like to hear. So guys, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. I came from a W-2 job as a teacher, making 40 grand a year. Now make a lot more than that. And there's so many others that, are in that W-2 world that have done, their first few handful of deals and making life-changing money. So super rewarding for us to hear about those stories.
It's a game changer. And I see Bobby's on here, so we'll pull the bank whisperer up. What's going on, Bobby boy?
Hey, sorry, I was waiting in another room, waiting to join. Same frame, same everything. I'm like, where is everybody?
Well, I'm glad we got you in here.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know before you hopped in, I was just talking about, I did a little bit of marketing. I showed the entire wire and what we actually netted. And we were just talking about the possibilities that can happen when you focus on niching down and helping everybody out. So I know that you guys, and I did that deal with Bobby, just so you guys know. So that was one of our first deals that we got to go all the way through. But Bobby, I know you did a few deals. You've been stopping foreclosures since the late 1900s? Is that what you said before?
Yeah, thank you for making me sound old, but yes.
That's your favorite joke. You tell it. Yeah, that's the only reason we know it.
Here all week, guys.
Well, I already preface it for everybody on here. So I'm going to invite everybody, if you'd like to come up and ask us questions, because this is a Q&A, we want to make sure that we help you guys out. I put a link in the side chat. As long as you're on YouTube, I know I have my Instagram live going. As long as you guys are on YouTube, you guys can come up here and ask us questions. But our main goal is to help you guys out, gets you started. We have done a weekly Zoom almost every single week are we at a year yet, Michael? We've been doing this for a bit.
I think it's been longer, probably.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Probably.
Not sure.
So
hey, that deal that you just closed, was that the one that Bobby left me and Alex Hormozy to go in the parking lot?
Yes.
We're hobnobbing it with Alex Hormozy in his office, and him and his giant guns and calves are standing there in all of their glory. And Bobby's like, I got to go out and meet a notary in the parking lot and make a bunch of money now. And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, the best, we literally had, I mean, this is kind of funny. We had these crab, I don't know what they were. It was almost like French toast with a piece. Yeah, lobster rolls. And here's a tip for everybody. When in doubt, pinky out. So that's what you want to do is at fine dining. So we were eating a lobster rolls, got a text and said, hey, we've got a notary that's looking for you. You need to sign something because you can't have your phones when you're meeting with Alex. 9 to 6, no phones, no laptops, not allowed. So it was kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, where's the deal? I'm not going to be back till Thursday. And they're like, it's in Vegas. I'm like, no way, I'm in Vegas. So it was kind of fun to go bring her into the lobby, sign a deal, and go back and say, hey, Michael, guess what? we just closed a deal. It was kind of fun. So you can do this business anywhere. Another cool story is we stopped a foreclosure, a trustee's sale on my flight back. So before, I had a student reaching out saying, hey, I don't know what to do here. I'm like, do this, bam, bam, bam. Here's some ninja skills. They were able to get an offer in and provide the certification of funds, postponed for 30 days. So doesn't mean that it's going to be a deal or it's going to be a great deal. It's in kind of in my backyard area in Draper, Utah. But I'm like, you know what? At least we postpone the sale, and it buys that homeowner a little bit of time to figure out what we can do. So that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing. We do help homeowners, and you can make money simultaneously where they're grateful. And Caroline, that deal we just closed, the homeowner was in tears. She was losing the home, and people think, well, why did you guys make so much money on it? Well, we stopped a sale. We were into that home. I don't remember the total amount, maybe 70K.
Right around 80.
They all kind of blend in together, but in paint, and sometimes we do LVP, kind of light renovation. But we paid for her move into a new place. We paid for storage unit. We paid for first month's rent. We paid for a nice chunk of change when she was losing this in a few days. And then we have to go in, and sometimes we can create equity through discounting the second mortgage or third mortgage, and we create equity in these properties. Sometimes they have built-in equity, and you're like, sweet bonus. But that one was a good one. It was a lot of fun.
That actually brings up another thought process. I know, just because we're talking about this in the moment. The biggest thing that Michael opened my eyes up to focusing on one thing, because I'd heard of it, I've done it. And then I talked to Michael and I was like, wait a second, you're doing how much a year? And you feel good about yourself and you're making a difference, and you don't like this. Okay, I'm liking this. And then Bobby opened it up even further about pre-foreclosures and how to build in more equity. So I brought this up yesterday with our call with our team that goes over data. We had a lead come in that has a first and a second. So when we say first and second for everybody in here, because actually I heard you when you're on the call with the homeowner, Bobby, I meant to tell you this after the call. You said, so do you have a first or a second? And the homeowner said, well, this is my first house. And I don't think he understood what you meant as the mortgage. Yeah. So for everybody on here, they mean a first position on your mortgage. What are the liens or whatever? The loan was the first mortgage. And sometimes people get a second mortgage. And what Bobby opened, I didn't understand what people meant by saying building an equity. I thought it was just like you find a house that's kind of in the dumps, you go fix it up and you sell it. Because I watched HGTV growing up. I was like, okay, that's how you make money. Bobby's been able to open my eyes so you can negotiate judgments, liens, and things if they're not in that first position. And that's how you can build in more equity and have more opportunity as the investor. But before I hand it back over to you, Bobby, to share, I want to just let you guys know, I even talked about this because somebody made a post and they're like, well, how do you guys justify making large assignments? That was a flip. That was not an assignment. I haven't made huge assignments on deals. I actually bought deals because I'm a softie where we've lost money because it's a single parent and we're taking over a bad situation, and it keeps me up at night. I'm like, great, now we have a house that's vacant. We're paying the mortgage on it. I'm pretty stressed out about this. So I want to ask, before I hand the reins over on building equity and having those opportunities, Michael, how many times have you bought a bad deal to help a homeowner out of a bad situation?
A lot of times. There was actually a house we closed on last week. house on Village Drive in Lee Summit, Missouri. I had been working with this seller in foreclosure for 2.5 years. He'd gone through the cycle, I don't know how many times. And finally, he's like, hey, look, I'm willing to sell. You're the only one that's been with me this whole period of time. We agreed upon a price that was pushing it for me. But I thought it would be a good wholesale. I thought that it would work out. Well, then I had to find this guy housing, right? So I represented him as an agent. He took the proceeds from the deal that we bought his house. He took the proceeds, bought another one. Well, I assured him it's in really good shape. It's good to go, all this type of stuff. Well, it ended up having like this big old plumbing issue. Well, he spent all of his money on this house, right? And then I out of the goodness of my own heart, felt bad about it because it's like I told him to buy it. So I fixed the plumbing issue. Well, then we sold the house. I thought we bought it for $170. I thought it would go for about $220 as it sat. So not a huge deal, but I thought it might make $30 at the end of the day. Well, it ended up selling for $185 and sat for 6 months on the market. So we had to write a check for 10 grand to sell it the other day. And this was all because I had, worked with him for a long time. I paid him a lot because he pulled my heartstrings, things like that. So these things happen. So on that Facebook post, the guy was like, how do you guys in this group ever justify making $50,000 or $100,000? That's just wrong. They don't understand the amount of times that we've helped someone and we made no money. They don't realize the amount of things that you have to do for each seller. It's like, oh, that seller needed us to help pack them up. Well, we had to pay for that. We had to get them moved. Oftentimes cost thousands and thousands of dollars.
Not only move, but Michael, if they're in pre-foreclosure, what's their credit like? Where are they going to get housing?
Terrible. So you're having to spend, all kinds of your own resources time-wise, or your team's resources, finding them housing and getting them approved for this stuff, or whatever situation it could be. It could be tons of hours, guys. And there's a lot of risk that comes along with that. Again, we get paid for doing what? Solving problems. And sometimes when you solve a very difficult problem that this person hadn't been able to solve for multiple years, it's a big problem. You got them from A to B. No one else had been able to accomplish that, and you deserve to be paid accordingly. That being said, if you're out there making $100 grand and the seller's netting $500, I have a moral problem with this. But as long as the seller is taken care of for the next year and a half, you have solved a problem that they couldn't solve on their own, I have no problem with us getting paid a bunch of money. But each person has an internal dialogue. I call it the Holy Spirit that guides you to know, hey, this person, I really think you should offer a little bit more in their situation. Others, I don't feel that calling as much. So for me, it's a case-by-case basis. I don't know for you two how you gauge that each time. But there have been so many situations over the years where I could have gotten a steal of a deal, and I gave them $100,000 more plus than what I needed to. So I always try to do the right thing, but I don't limit myself on what I'm going to make. So you guys can expand on that if you'd like.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, but I also, we don't always know what we're going to make on these deals. Yeah. So let's just drive that home, because you're taking on a risk, and you can get into something and then they'll be like, oh, actually, like we have a property. I was really nervous. Thankfully, it didn't work out like this, but there was the homeowner's husband. So her husband had passed away at some point. He was an electrician. He did his own work on the house, and there was just a bunch of just random wires all over. And I was like, I really hope this house doesn't burn down when we get it. And it's really bad, because you will see like the plumbing issues, foundation issues, things you don't know about, and you can take lots of losses on situations. So there's always a risk. Is there anything else you want to hit on that, Bobby, before you talk about building equity?
I always have something to say. Look, we're not in the home stealing business. We don't kick old ladies out of home. And I would ask the first question to that person that said, hey, how do you justify yourself, taking so much money? I would ask, have you ever done the deal? That would be the first question I would ask them, because I would say there's so many analogies. Never trust a skinny chef. Don't take wait loss advice from a fat person, right? Don't take financial advice from a poor person. We can get as brutal as we want with the analogies, but I'm not going to take advice from somebody that has never done a deal. We've done so many deals. I think, Michael, you're on 700. I wrote a book on pre-foreclosures, an ebook back in the day. And I will say this, every scenario that we go into, the homeowner is our first priority. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, are there shady people that do this business? Absolutely. And there always will be. And sometimes they work for employers and they steal, and sometimes they, pretend they're working and they don't. I mean, there's a lot of ways to be dishonest, but the good thing that I love about this business and why I have a conscience and I can sleep at night, we do right by the homeowner. We go in and say, how can we help you save your home? It's number one. It's what we train our people to do. You go through the list. Is there a loan modification option there? We call the banks with them, all for free. We haven't made any money yet. We exhaust all their options. And I would say this, and Michael, you probably feel the same. We have probably stopped more sales sometimes than we buy properties, and we look at deals and give free advice. So there's a lot that goes into it. When we come down to the point where the seller doesn't have a lot of options, I'm in the truth telling business. I'm not there to, again, steal homes, kick old ladies out of their homes. We are there to help them understand the truth of the situation and the reality. If they do nothing, the sheriff will show up. He will kick them out of their home. It does go through the trustee sale process or foreclosure process, whatever you want to call it. And it's a very mechanical, unemotional, robotic process. And I've seen that happen. That's the saddest thing, is when you see a family bringing their stuff and they're putting it on their front lawn. Talk about tearjerker. That is sad. We do our best to help them stop it. And I don't love attorneys and I don't love Chapter 13 option, but sometimes homeowners will do that to stay the sale and buy a little more time. Sometimes they list it. But when you have somebody that's 3 days away, they're going to figure this out. They don't. You can't list a property on the MLS and think you're going to sell it in 3 days and everything's going to happen. Most real estate agents, I used to have a license. I would say I'm a recovering agent, and I've done a lot of deals, and I've got some really good credentials there that I'm not going to brag about. But I am very unimpressed with most agents that don't understand this process. Their go-to is, let's do a short sale. Let's do a short sale. Okay, well, guess what? That homeowner is potentially going to be 1099 for whatever the loss is, and they get a big fat tax bill. Is that a good option? Most real estate agents don't even understand how to do this. And that short sale queen, I noticed somebody mentioned that in the side chat. I'll just say 5 seconds on that. Lying on documentation and contracts and false proof of funds, never a good idea. Always good to be upfront and honest. And that is why they are in trouble. We don't do that. We're not doing a short sale. We can buy notes. Banks are selling their notes on the secondary market all the time. And you'll find a servicer and bad debt. Banks are in the performing note business, not the non-performing note business. So we can buy those at a discount and create equity. And I feel marvelous about that, because the borrower did really borrow $50,000. I'm taking on that entire debt, $50,000. Now, because I'm a better negotiator than they were and the bank, I might get it for $5,000. And I've done that numerous times. So I don't see any issue with that. I don't feel bad for the banks.
On the short sale queen note, there were a lot of kind of little rumor things bouncing around about that. One of them was that we're going to get in trouble for stopping foreclosure sales.
Yeah.
The people were scared of that. What she did was what Bobby said. She was getting offers from people that she knew. She would get them to ink it up. She would then fabricate their offers at an inflated amount. I'm not entirely sure how that benefited her, but that's what she was doing. And then she was getting fake proof of funds. It was all shady business to get things done to profit somehow. Guys, if you were out in the open and doing things on the up and up, there's nothing to worry about. If you actually have a real purchase agreement with a real buyer, real end buyer, you have real proof of funds, nothing to worry about. But back to our last topic, a lot of that comes back to just having a lot of limiting beliefs about yourself. This is how I was at the very beginning, to where I really didn't feel like I was worth more than about $5,000 or $10,000 a deal. And it was just like, hey, I get something locked up. Oh, I'm just marking it up 5 and sending it out to someone. And then every time they'd be like, gobble, 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 sign it to me right away because it was a phenomenal deal. And then over time, I ticked it up and up and up and up. And I actually had a friend at Collective Genius Mastermind I'm in. He was the king of St. Joseph, Missouri, which is about an hour and a half north of Kansas City. Does about 200 deals a year up there. So he's doing a presentation at the mastermind about how many deals he's doing. 200 deals a year. And I'm like, wow, I got something to learn from this guy. And he's like, well, my revenue is $800K. And a lot of us would be like, well, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, that's only $4,000 a deal. What is going on? So I went and talked to him afterwards and I'm like, congrats on the deals. What's up with your assignment fees? And he's like, well, that's what I feel like I'm worth. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? I'm like, you should be making $20,000, $25,000 a deal at least on these things. And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of mark them up what I feel like marking them up. Well, then he comes back to me a few weeks later. He calls me. He's like, dude, I've assigned 3 deals in the last 2 weeks and made $20,000+ on each one of them. This is amazing. I'm like, well, cut me my check anytime for consultation. Yeah. But a lot of times it's a limiting belief. We do not feel like we are worthy to be making the money, right? Or we think, well, someone else, if they're not getting the money, we're taking it from them, right? We're providing them a service. We're solving something that is years in the making. Another way of thinking about it is, what if we don't go serve that seller? It ends up being another cutthroat investor, right? That will offer them even less. Or 2, it goes to foreclosure sale. Then 80-year-old granny, as Bobby said, has the sheriff knocking at her door. And what is she going to do with no one to help her out? No resources. It's 20 degrees outside where I am. What is she going to do?
Here's what's interesting, Michael. It's funny you say that. Just yesterday, had a student talking about a deal. The gentleman is literally in his living room getting ready to pass away. I don't know if he'll live a week or a year. She called the sheriff and said, hey, a trustee sale's coming up. What really are you going to do? And he said, we have to evict them. Well, he's in a bed in his living room. What do you do? And he said, if he doesn't move, he's in contempt, then we arrest him. And so I'm like, when you hear that, you're like, that's not fair. It is an unemotional, robotic process, the legal system. It is what it is. And the best thing, I would flip it on the, inverse, on the reverse side. It's fun to get letters from homeowners. And I know Caroline, she has every homeowner. Would you be willing to give me a Google rating? They're all raving fans. They're all crying, saying, thank you for stopping the sale. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for, and we see that on our side. We just had a call yesterday, Caroline, with a guy that he will allow us to take his home over, $3,000 in his pocket is all. And he's the one that said, here's what I'd like. We asked him, what would you like? He's not in the home. He is renting, and there is an arrears on the property, 20, 30K. So we're trying to get data there. But he's like, thank you so much for helping me. I want to take care of the homeowners that are renting the home right now. And if you could allow them to keep renting. And it's interesting when you're on these calls constantly, your mind isn't where most people who have never done a deal. I mean, I have email thank you letters from people that I could spend days reading to you that you're like, wow, that's cool. Oh, there's another cool story. So it does happen. Occasionally you do buy a home. I have one right now. I bought, reinstated the loan, big raving fans, and they wanted to stay in the home, and now they don't pay rent. So now I pay all of the rent every month, and they quickly forget, what you've done. And so that's why I prefer homes are vacant. They're on their way out, cash for keys, we'll pay you as you're exiting, because they do forget some of the things you've done. But again, I'm not in the kick old lady out of the homes business. She thinks she's going to live another 30 years. So I'm like, wow, that's going to be expensive, but I own the home. The equity's mine. So if she never pays me again, awesome. When it comes time, that home will eventually be sold, probably through my kids.
But kind of to wrap that topic up, if you're struggling with limiting belief issues around making money, I did a YouTube video. I don't know if it was 6, 8, 12 months ago. It's called limiting beliefs in real estate investors or something on my YouTube channel. There's 2 or 3 people that I speak to on there that have different limiting beliefs. One of them might apply to you. So go check that out. Maybe it'll help you overcome one of those that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some more questions that are over here, guys. We want to make sure that we can help you guys out during our time on here. Dylan James asked, I'd like to know more about talking to the banks and negotiating with them to extend the auction day and or reduce payoffs. So, Michael, I know on your YouTube channel, you have a lot of stuff about contacting and talking to the banks. So, Dylan, before we get into this, I think we might just do a quick recap for you. But I want to ask you if you have been to Michael's YouTube channel and watched his videos, because he goes through the steps to stop it. You have five documents that people should get together once they've talked to the homeowner?
Most of the time it's 4 different ones, right?
4.
You're going to have a legit purchase agreement, not like the short sale queen. You're going to have a real proof of funds that you're going to get either from your bank account, a business partner's bank account, a lender's bank account, whoever it is. Please make it sure it's legit. I know it's really tempting to just use that PDF that goes through all these different communities and everyone uses the same one. Guys, these lenders aren't dumb. Wells Fargo's like, I saw that proof of funds 14 times in the last week. The exact same.
It's documented and it's proof when, if there is anything shady that goes on against you. So,
yeah. So you're going to need that purchase agreement, the proof of funds. I do a kind of a cover letter that just addresses Wells Fargo. My name is Michael. I'm representing the seller. Here's the situation. Here is why I'm requesting a postponement or a cancellation of the sale. I could provide you in the Facebook group kind of a template of that, but I wouldn't overthink it. Just introduce yourself, who you're representing, how you can help the situation and get the lender their investment back, and what you need. Then you're going to get a bare bones HUD, what I call it, from your title company. If they can just provide the most basic closing statement, it doesn't have to have all the numbers and all that stuff in it. Title doesn't even have to be back. It's just showing the lender, yes, I've opened up escrow. I'm working on this. We're good to go. If you have those 4 documents, a good percentage of the time, you'll be able to get that stopped with some persistence.
All right, I'm going to jump in because I was taking notes on this. One thing I want to say, I'll give it to you, Bobby, but I wanted to say before you stop this foreclosure auction, because I want to go even further, we're talking about you purchasing the home. Okay. This is what we need to ask ourselves. What does the homeowner want to do? And is it a realistic outcome? Can they stay in the home? Can they do a loan modification and adjust their payments? And will they be able to afford it? So we've helped, this past month, the last 30 days, I think we've helped 3 homeowners contact the bank and get the loan mod approved. We don't fill out loan modification paperwork. Now, one of them has been very stern and they wanted to stay in the home because they want their children to grow up there. I'm nervous. We recommended against it. And guess what happened to them? They had a 3% mortgage and they did the loan modification. It bumped up to 7.25. They had 24 years left on their mortgage. They went from a 3% mortgage up to a 7.25. And then their mortgage got spread out over 40 years. And guess what happened to their payment, everyone? I want you to guess what happened to their payment. Long's in the back here. Long, don't say anything. I'm just going to bring it up. What do you think happened to it? You said it went up. You're right. Their mortgage payment went up $600, even though they did that loan modification. So one, we help homeowners. We go through, always try and keep them in there if it's realistic, but we don't want to set them up to fail and fall apart. Stay in the home, get a loan modification. Can they do a forbearance? Is there a partial claim? How can we help them stay? Are they just falling on a hard time? Or I love the analogy that you gave, Michael. Sometimes people will stop the foreclosure, but they're just putting a Band-Aid over gangrene or some kind of really bad infection. So you have to go through what is best for these homeowners. But we talked about, and Michael's answer was for them to keep the property, or for us to buy the property after we've walked through everything. It's not reasonable for them to keep it. Bobby, you got anything else before I get to the next question?
Well, just something Michael mentioned as part of his list, that third-party consent is critical that you get that. And you've got to appreciate this is third-party consent or third-party authorization allows you to speak to the bank on behalf of the homeowner, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. That is part of the initial, when you're engaging with a homeowner, they're willing to participate. Hey, let's get the bank on the phone and see what we can do to help. So it's going to require getting either a statement with the loan number, and then they're going to ask for the last 4 of the social. And a verbal authorization is best. Most banks, they'll do it on the spot. And sometimes it's for a day of. Sometimes you can have that, for a year or a year and a half. I've got one that they just said, as long as you ever call in ever, we now have you in the system. Sometimes that signature authorization you get signed electronically. Sometimes they want wet signatures. So you got to make sure you understand what the bank needs. Get on the phone with them first and say, do you have a third-party consent on your website? I'm actually on the phone with the homeowner. I am the asset manager for the property. There's a trustee sale pending, and we'd like to explore our options. That's the first conversation that I have. And then I say, what options are available to this homeowner? I don't want to be the bad guy. I want the bank telling the homeowner, you can get a loan mod or you don't qualify. And I repeat it again on that recorded line. I say, so you're telling me you're not going to extend the option to do a partial claim, which is taking a lot of their arrears or payments they're behind, say it's $20,000, and they put it on the end of the loan. It's a 0% interest loan, typically 30 years. It is going to have to be paid, but just not now. So that's sometimes an option. The loan modification option, I'm very clear with the banks. I say, hey, they've got a 2-3% interest rate. You putting them into a 6 to 7% interest rate is good for you as a bank, not good for the borrower. That's a crappy solution. But anyway, we'll talk through some of those solutions, and they'll typically email out loan modification documents to the homeowner, and they'll take some time to fill out. If you've got time on your side, wonderful. If you literally have 2 days, let's get to the point, and you've got to get the options that are available. Most loan modifications, just so you know, typically 30 days plus to make that happen. So if that trustee sale is compressed into a week time frame, loan mod typically isn't an option. So those, that's fire hose on how to talk to the banks, get that signature authorization, and at least get the data, and then you can bring it to somebody that may know a little bit more about process and negotiating.
Yeah. Man, we're going through a lot. Well, Long, I'm going to pull you up because we have other questions, but we're going to get to you since you came backstage. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Long.
Go ahead. What's going on, Long? How can we help you?
Oh, all right. I didn't know I was on. I just want to say thank you, you guys.
EJ.
You guys provide a lot of value to the group, and I really appreciate that. I just wanted to jump on and just say hi is all.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thanks, Long.
Good to be here. It's not my show. I'm just a guest, but thank you for joining.
All right.
Appreciate it. Good to see you, Long. All right. I thought he had a question. All right. So let's get to this other questions that we have in here. Okay. Justin asked, if a homeowner has already passed auction, didn't sell, can it still be saved? So let's say it went, I think you were on a Zoom with me, Justin, maybe. The house went to auction and the bank took it back because it did not sell at the foreclosure auction. Can it be saved? Michael?
So two things, Michael, I want you to talk about here. Redemptive period, because that's one horn on the same goat. The other is REO department. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't sell.
Depending on the state, you have redemption rights of different lengths. For instance, I live in Kansas City, not Kansas, Kansas City, right?
Chiefs?
Chiefs,
okay.
Yeah. On one side of state line, on the Kansas state side of the state, you have redemption rights. This redemption period after a house forecloses, doesn't matter if it went back to the bank, doesn't matter if it went to a third-party investor. They have anywhere between 3 and 12 months to redeem that property, depending on equity and vacancy and a lot of different factors. So during that period of time, yes, they can get the home back if they can come up with the amount of money plus interest and fees from the person that bought the house. Yes, theoretically they can. On the Missouri side, that does not happen. If it sells to a third-party investor, it's gone. If it sells to back to a lender, technically there are some situations where you can get the property back, very rare situations. But it depends on the state. That would be something that you want to talk with an attorney about to kind of determine, which states have those redemption rights. But if a property goes into foreclosure, it sells back to the bank. Many times, if there's no redemption rights, it's going to turn into what Bobby said, an REO, real estate owned, to where the lender is then going to take a look at the asset, kind of decide what the next steps are. They might renovate it. They might leave it exactly as it is. They have some sort of they have a agent on their team, more than likely, that's going to list that property on the MLS. Back 2008 to 2012, there was the avalanche of foreclosures, and and they were just all over the place. That's what drove down pricing values is all those really low selling foreclosure houses. We don't have so many REOs these days, mostly because there's not a whole lot of inventory on the market. So oftentimes either an investor's picking it up, or even a like independent homeowner will go to the foreclosure sale and pick these houses up. So there's just not a whole lot of properties that are actually being foreclosed unless there's just no equity. But feel free to add on your flavor.
No, I agree. That's it's hard. We did have one scenario, and all the deals I'm talking about literally were within the last 3 months that we've had some of these scenarios. But I did have one that we reinstated, means I sent the money to the bank to reinstate the loan. Banker and trustee, which was the attorney for closing, I said I emailed both of them proof of funds and wire that had been sent, and said, please stop the trustee sale tomorrow. They didn't. Somebody bought it at auction. And a week later went to the homeowner and said, unlawful detainer, need to evict you. And so she called me freaking out. What happened? Thought we stopped the sale. And I'm like, we did. Found out the guy's name, called him. And long story short, had a fun conversation with this gentleman saying, hey, buddy, we're going to reinstate the loan. We did reinstate the loan. It's going to be reversed. No way. We already wired our cash. I do this for a living. I'm like, good. I do too. You're about to be schooled. Long story short, everything was undone. He was refunded his money. We still own that property. And he called apologizing. And I said, no, we're interested in selling the property to you. So glad you called me back. So let's keep the lines of communication open. But that is the only way. If you have reinstated before the actual trustee sale takes place, a lot of times it's past that point of no return, unfortunately. So if you can meet that wire cut off before the sale, that is one of the things that will protect you.
Highly do not recommend ever just wiring things over without having agreements in place. Bobby's a riskier person, so just try and get things stopped beforehand. So I just wanted to add that little bit in there. But also, Justin, my only concern, my last bit before I go to the next question here is, if a house did not sell at auction, what's wrong with it? Okay. If nobody else wants it, and this is a true fact. I went to
depends on the time of the year too, and the amount of buyers on a market. Like, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to go right back to what you had to say, but
I'll keep
2000 to 2000 or 2020 to 2023, even, at least for us, the courthouse steps were a bloodbath. I would try to, stop a foreclosure sale or help a seller out. Maybe they didn't respond. I'd go to the courthouse steps. I'd come with my number that I felt like was a good buy, and I would get absolutely blown out. It wasn't even close. You had hedge funds and whoever else, and it's just like, so I stopped even going. Well, recently, here in the last 12 months or so, I've started seeing properties that I would see go to the foreclosure sale, and I'm like, okay, they owed 100. Based on the past, it's going to go for like 175. I'd probably offer 120 or something like that. And then it would go for opening bid. Like no one would bid. So it also depends on, what time of the year it is, how much money is in the market right now, all kinds of different factors. But in the past, it was a bloodbath. I'm seeing it as an opportunity anymore to go down to the foreclosure sale these days.
The only other thing I was going to add, I went to a foreclosure sale and auction at the courthouse steps, and I remember I told the story on here before. I was ready to go buy a house. I was excited. I was going to go purchase it. And I remember I was like, our MAO is like $350, and people are like slowly bidding it up around like $150. And they brought it up, and they went, they didn't even go up to $350. I think they ended up buying the house for like $250. And I was ready to just blurt out, because they're bidding against each other $2,000 higher, 102, 104, 106, 108. And I'm like, why don't you guys just buy it for $220 and call it a day? And then afterwards, I did not end up purchasing it. It took like 15 minutes of them bidding. It was very slow and odd. And you should go experience an auction. And then I remember talking to them afterwards, and I heard these other buyers saying, like, well, yeah, there's a second note. I went over to this auction without doing a preliminary title report on this, and I found out that I would have been upside down if I'd purchased it for $350. So as a new investor, go hang around people that have been doing it for a while, because they're already pulling stuff and they're making sure everything works. So I just wanted to clarify that for all of you guys. Just make sure it's worth your while. And then one thing for me, Bobby and I were on a call the other day and somebody's like, well, I know Caroline says only go after things that have equity and it has to be in a major city. Bobby, Michael, and I cannot save the world. Okay. We're doing what we can. We're being very, very niche, and we're focusing on markets where we know the resources we can give to homeowners. We give them lots of assistance. There's lots of funds in the government that can help pay and reinstate mortgages. They can help with utilities, all kinds of things. We help with meals. I've taken one lady, I went to Costco and I bought $100 worth of groceries and I brought it to her. And then I helped her get a loan modification approved and I made no money from that. There's all kinds of situations. So know your market, be really, really focused on what you're doing. I do not like small markets. I'm from a small town in Indiana. I'm basically from where Michael's from. He's actually from a big city compared to me. I'm from St. Joseph, wherever the heck that is. Okay. I'm from a small area and there's just not a lot of deals happening. So pick an area where you're going to be able to make sure you can get the homeowner money and you can make a living off of it as well. That's the only other thing I was going to say.
Cool.
All right.
I see a lot in the side chat. Do you want to bring Peter up on the stage? He's got a lot of questions about what the value is and the worth. I'd love to have him ask.
Oh yeah. Here, Peter. So he just jumped in. This is who I was messaging on Facebook. So let me put he has to come up. So Peter, in the side chat, there's a link you can press to jump on backstage and we can bring you up and answer questions. While we're waiting for Peter to go over to StreamYard to answer his questions, I lost track of where I was. I want to bring up the other questions that were over here. Okay. So Evan just asked, question on objections. After you ask them what they did to stop the auction and they reply, don't worry about it. What would you say? So also, Evan, love this. This tells me as well, you've not watched the video that I went and was extremely mean to Michael Franke and I attacked him like an angry homeowner because I was afraid. So
Caroline, you're the investor. I'm the homeowner.
Oh, I want to be mean again. Okay. All right. Go ahead. You can be
I won't be mean. You're not.
Be mean.
You're knocking.
Be mean.
Okay.
Okay. Knock, knock.
What?
Oh, hey, sorry to bother you. I know you're probably getting a lot of people coming up to your home right now.
Yeah, I am. It's ridiculous.
I know. I hope to be the last one that comes up here today. My name's Caroline, and I noticed that the lender's been giving you some grief and that they've set an auction for the property on 321 Main Street. Have they walked you through the solutions to stop the auction?
It's not your problem. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I understand my family went through a situation back in 2019 where they almost lost their home. I don't want anybody else to go through that. I'll get out of your hair here just so I can wipe you from my mind. And I know that you've been taken care of. What did you do to stop the foreclosure? Maybe I can help another family.
Look, you seem nicer than some of the others, but why should I be sharing that information with you?
You don't have to. At the end of the day, I'm just another person that's knocking your door, but I have partners that have done over 600 foreclosures They've stopped over 600 foreclosures, and we have resources that can help you out. You don't have to listen to me. I can give you my Google business. You can check it out. But at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that you don't lose your home and you have options available to you.
I got 2 minutes. Say what you got to say, but I just don't know. I'm having a hard time trusting people because so many people are blowing up my phone and knocking on my door. And someone even talked to my kid the other day. Incredibly unprofessional and embarrassing. So
I don't blame you. Well, first and foremost, I'm really sorry. I know how overwhelming it is. My parents' phone, they had to disconnect it because they got so many calls. So you probably don't need it. You probably have it under control. But if you'd like, I have some resources that can help at least lessen those calls. And I even have something we can put up on your door to make people stop knocking.
Actually, that would be great.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I can give that to you here in a little bit. Just to give you a quick recap, because I know we're probably at 90 seconds now. What we can do is we can figure out what's going on and provide you 5 solutions to stop this foreclosure auction that the bank has set. The biggest thing is I can't put the puzzle together without all of the pieces. So I'd probably ask you some questions, but we have ways to talk to the bank to get to, I know it's really hard to get a hold of a human being. Most of the time I sit on hold, talk to the bank, figure out what's going on, and then walk you through all of the processes and explain what the bank's saying to you. Last week, I helped a firefighter who's in Mesa. He was about $10,000 behind on his mortgage. We figured out, because he's a firefighter, that his union automatically approved $10,000, no questions asked, to reinstate his mortgage. He just fell on a hard time, and he was able to get it back caught up, and he's staying in his home. So I don't know if that's something that could work for you, but I have lots of resources that could help you if you want to talk about it at another time, if now is bad.
So guys, you saw that at first I was angry, right? And then she slowly weaseled me in and slowly de-escalated the situation, right? So that video on YouTube is gold. In that particular situation, I was the investor and Caroline was the seller. And she was really tough on me, but that is a great video to watch to kind of figure out how to de-escalate that angry seller. Like I've always said, difference between a deal and not a deal is very small. Having that skill of matching someone's energy and then slowly de-escalating it to where now we're just talking human to human and we're not angry anymore. So good question, Evan.
That's a good one. Also, I saw Peter was backstage and then he's gone. So Peter, I don't know where you went.
Jump in. I think it's important.
He's in and out.
He's asking a lot of good questions. Peter, join.
Yeah, we'll bring him up once we get him on here. While we do wait for Peter to come back on stage, I'll just go through the other questions in the side chat. But Evan, the cool thing is Michael has been doing this longer than me, and he has an entire production team that goes through and edits videos. So if you go to Michael's YouTube channel, he explains the introduction. And actually, yesterday, Bobby and I were just on a call with one of our door knockers, and he said he got to a door knocker who was screaming at him, and he stayed there long enough and understood that he had family members pass away. So you just don't know what's going on in somebody's situation. And I love what Bobby said. He told, because our door knockers knew, I don't even know how old Edward is, very young. And he's like, it was really stressful to me. And it reminded me, his grandma was about to lose her home to a foreclosure. So we've got into this. This has all impacted one of us. And he got the homeowner to finally calm down. And then they opened up. And then Edward's been eaten up by it. He went over and, got a card, wrote him a letter. And they're just really stressed out. So you just got to understand, once you get them to diffuse and understand, you're not going to just be like everybody else. Because I've had homeowners that I've spoken to, where some other person has come to their house at 10 p.m. at night. And they told me that this guy came over and he said, if you don't effing sell your house to me, you're going to get effing kicked out, you and your kids on the street. Like, I don't know how these people are in business, but you just treat them like human beings at the end of the day. And that's the big thing I wanted to highlight. Oh, Peter's there. Okay, perfect. So I'll bring Peter up, but I just want to highlight that for all of you guys. Once you're able to diffuse, that's like a PhD level. And they just are frustrated. If they're a red seller, it's because somebody's burned them before. It's
the biggest purchase they make in their life. And it's a major tragedy. And it's trying to help them navigate through that. So yeah, bring Peter up. I'd love to understand. Peter, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going? You guys hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Fast. It's hard. We're answering questions and then I see lots in the side chat and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not getting context. So go ahead and ask your question for the group.
So just general question. Do sellers know how much money you're making off them when you pen the deal?
Most don't.
Is that right?
Well, so let me ask you a question. How many deals have you done?
No. Hold up. It's a question. Yes or no? Is that right or no?
Absolutely. So how many deals have you done before? How many deals have you done where you've helped a homeowner go from start to finish? Just curious.
I'm asking if the profit that you're making on a deal, not you specifically, because you're more the bank, but wholesaler, novator, whatever.
Yeah, so you're if I understand your question, you want us, after we close on a property, to go back to that homeowner and say,
not after you close.
Okay. So before close?
The second you sign the deal with them.
Okay. So can you calculate for me? Because if you do, I will pay you $1 million. If you can calculate for me, Peter, the renovations needed, how much the homeowner wants ahead of time, any fix-its to HVAC, roof, electrical, plumbing, what their goals are, what their objectives are. If you can give me that number, and then I can subtract it from title and escrow fees, realtor fees, and then what a homeowner is going to lowball me, that would give me the net. I don't think I'd have an issue telling a homeowner, look, we are going to make money in your property. I'm very upfront with people and tell them we are in this as a business and we are also there to help you. So how would you give them that number of what's the number going to be?
What's the number of profit that's okay on a property? I mean, any given property, $1 million, $10, whatever.
Do you feel there's an ethical number that we should be saying, hey, we're not allowed to make over $10,000 on this on a deal that I closed on a deal. Would you be okay with this? First, second, and HOA lien. First had $34,000 in arrears. The second was $35,000 and $10,000 in arrears. So are you following me on the math here? So they're 35, 10 plus, let's just call it 10. It was 8,000 on the HOA. So they were behind, and based on what I paid them, a trustee sale was happening in 2 days. They're about ready to get kicked out. They already had plans to move in with their mom. What I did was reinstated the first, so I paid $35,000, completely paid off.
Just 1 second. So you loaned them $35K essentially.
I didn't loan them. I'm buying their house. So I agreed.
I know, but to get the note paid off, you don't own the home yet. So you gave them $35K to pay that note off.
I didn't give them $35K. I put a purchase contract together. So you got to understand the process. And this is why I'm asking if you've done a deal before, because you've got to tie up the property and do a purchase contract. And then you've got to engage a title company. And once I did that, the homeowner's agreeing to a certain price on their home, what they're comfortable selling for. I was into that property out of pocket, 35. Instead of reinstating the second, I ended up just paying it off. So 35,000 there, and then 10,000. And then here was the surprise for me, Peter. They didn't tell me about a $65,000 partial claim. That was a oops on the sellers. What I've learned, buyers are liars, sellers are worse. They're sometimes not as upfront as you'd like them to be. So
of course,
before closing happened, another surprise $65,000. And I called them. We've got a good relationship, and I still call them to this day. We're friends. They asked me to pick up their mail, something to the property just recently. So I said, hey, you didn't tell me about the $65,000 partial claim, but guess what? I got it. I'm going to cover it. There's a stainless steel fridge and a washer and dryer. You're going to have to leave those now. And it's the most expensive washer and dryer that I've ever purchased before. They laughed, I laughed, and went, oh, crap. Then I went into the property. It was a hoarder home, had to hire to clean it out. We did some paint. We did some renovation. We had no idea what our expenses would be. They walked with what they were comfortable with. I was all in on that property, right around $80,000 to $85,000 out of my pocket because of that surprise.
Okay.
I was very clear with them that I'm going to list the property, or I may keep it in my portfolio. After I've closed, I can do whatever I want with it, Peter. I decided to put that property on the market. I put it on the market, and I cleared $80,000 on it. It took me 2 months. So the question I feel like you're asking is that ethical to make money off a property that you buy? And I would say 100%, no question. The question is when you sell your property, if you sell the property of the home you're in, are you going to disclose to the homeowner that buys it, hey, I just made 120 grand off you, thanks, sucker? And they may say, wait,
that's a different scenario than what you just posted. If I'm just a person selling a home,
my first home was a foreclosure that I lived in. I bought a foreclosure, and I bought it. That was the first home I ever bought and lived in, was a foreclosure. So it's a real scenario. But the point is,
do you think the seller would have sung a different tune if they knew how much money you were making off of them?
Without me, Peter, they made nothing. The trustee sells in 2 days. So tell me how.
But they could have made more, because what you're doing is
if you do a good job at these appointments, one, the seller will openly admit that they want you to make a lot of money. This happens to me every time. Number one, what was your name again? Because I'm talking about their situation the whole time. It's Michael. Michael, I really appreciate everything you're doing. I really hope you come away making a lot of money on this.
I would be hard pressed to hear a seller.
I understand what you're saying, Peter, right? There is a heart issue here, right?
Absolutely.
There's some posturing that has to be done. Am I the type of person that wants to make a lot of money? Of course. Am I the type of person that wants to take advantage of someone else? Absolutely not. So it is a subjective thing, dependent on your belief systems, etc. And it might even be a case-by-case basis. I'll say over and over, I follow the Lord. The Holy Spirit in certain situations is like, you know what, 50K is okay. I feel nothing about taking that.
That is wild to justify on live. That is wild.
So you think it's wild to justify that I believe in Jesus Christ?
And no, that's not the part I said was wild. That's not the part I said it was wild. Don't twist it.
So Peter,
I said it was wild to justify 50K.
At the same time, there are situations where a seller's like, hey, I'll sell this house to you for 100K. And inside of me, I'm like, real wrong. And I might end up offering them well over 200. There's certain situations where profit is more justifiable than others. Do you ever go into any other business in the world and ask them, what is your profit margin on this product that I'm buying?
I guarantee you there's not a business in existence today that makes anywhere close to the margins that you guys are making.
Are you for real?
Yeah, I am for real.
Yeah, I don't.
Wow.
I'm not up for that. I mean, we can debate that till the cows come home. But I would ask you, Pete. I think the question is if you're going into this business with honesty, integrity in mind, and again, we're not stealing homes and taking advantage. The alternative, they're losing a home, and you can look at it as, hey, you're taking advantage of them. They're looking at it. We're having the conversation with them. You are saving our house. You're allowing us, because after we buy it, sometimes, Peter, they stay in the home for an extended period of time and they don't pay rent, and they haven't been paying rent for a year. And there's a lot of different situations, and we help them transition. This home that we closed in Vegas, Caroline knows this and she'll attest to it. She was crying. She has a bad back. We paid for the movers. We paid for everything. And she still walked with a really nice chunk of change. And that's the discussion we have. So I would throw
Did
back.
she walk away with more than you made?
No.
Because what you're doing is you're taking their equity
What?
in their
Pete,
home.
I can tell you've never done a deal.
Okay.
So I can, it's very clear. Second thing, have you ever worked with the homeowner in duress? And third, I would ask you for the whole group and the whole YouTube live world to see what is the ethical amount of money that a real estate investor should make. I want to hear that from you, because I say sometimes we don't make anything. Sometimes we lose money. Michael and I both lost money on a deal. Sometimes we make 1,000. Sometimes we make 150,000.
What profit margin would you see as acceptable? I think this is more of an interesting question. If you put $500,000 out into the market in whatever thing, what profit percentage would be acceptable to you? Or what would you,
the asset class?
What would you,
so right now,
if you were
we're
an
speaking
investor,
about real estate.
If you were an investor and you were going to invest $500,000 into something, what percent return would you find to be acceptable?
There's definitely a spectrum, right? So if you are doing a full rehab on a home, there's obviously services involved with managing contractors, insuring materials, just general management, right? Which I would consider on the spectrum as 10 to 15 deserves the most profit. On the other end of wholesalers, you're taking a property, let me not use that word. You are penning a property under contract. You got the seller to agree that this price is adequate, right? They're willing to accept that. And obviously you want that number to be the least amount, right? You want it to be less than zero, or more than zero, but you want it to be the least amount. And then you're taking that hot potato and you're passing to the next guy.
So I don't wholesale.
Whatever on the in-between. I got you.
Oh.
On the
real estate investing just as a big umbrella.
On the wholesaling side, there's a lot of expenses. For instance, I have a wholesaling company. My overhead is over $100,000 a month. So there's a lot of expenses to that. But let's not even worry about real estate right now. Would you say 10 to 15% return is fair?
On what?
On any investment.
Like I said, it depends on the investment class.
You're not wanting to answer it because you know where this is going, right? So if I bought a $500,000 house and I was going to make 10% on it, would $50K be okay?
No, 10% is, I think, adequate. Or a percentage down there is adequate. I'm not worried about the money amount.
Would 20% be okay? I think so.
I don't know. It depends on how much work is going in. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to wholesaling or it comes to non-rehab jobs, right? I understand you got to manage the project, choose the materials, the contracts, manage the contracts. I understand all that. And that
you're talking about a flip though that I posted.
And I mean,
I think we're a lot closer than you think.
And we put money into those properties.
There are a lot of investors out there that behave in the way that you're talking about, where they just straight up take advantage of people. This brand, that one, from the very beginning, since I started this, I've talked about serving homeowners and doing the right thing and making sure they're taken care of. I am the antithesis of the average investor. I'm wanting to actually change the perception of what a real estate investor is. Do I still need to make profit, though, to pay my transaction coordinator, my property manager, my acquisition people, all their families? Absolutely. Are we going to have a difference in opinion on, what is maybe an acceptable profit? Maybe. But at the same time, you and I can both agree that we're trying to facilitate a transaction to where both people on both sides of the table win.
In their own mind.
Is there a different degree between you and I on what percentage is okay to win? Maybe. But I think we can both agree that we're trying to take care of that person on the other side of the table, but everyone has different situations. Your business may have zero overhead, so you don't have to pay anyone else. So maybe a $10,000 profit is wonderful, and that works for you. Whereas if I took down a deal and we were going to make 10, well, my cost to do that deal may be $7,000 or $8,000. And it's like, is it worth to do that deal for $2,000? Probably not. But at the end of the day, we're going to disagree on the amount that's reasonable, but we can agree on the people in this community, the people in this chat. We're doing the very best we can to serve sellers. Just sometimes people have different, slightly different degrees of morality in terms of what's acceptable to make on a deal. But at the end of the day, it is America. We're here.
America.
Yeah.
We're able to make money,
Beautiful
but
country.
I will never be the person that takes advantage of the person and makes more than I feel led to make.
I would say, Pete,
More
before we
than
let
you
you go,
feel led.
Pete, I would say before
We got to find some common ground, bro. I'm trying to offer an olive branch here, but it doesn't seem like you want to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a good day. Appreciate it.
Hey,
See you, Pete.
I was going to say one last thing. The goal is when you're doing, he's talking about wholesaling and making large monies on wholesales, taking it from homeowners. When we buy a home and close on it, we like legit go to title insurance, and then it is unpredictable what the renovation costs. We've done roofs, we're doing a full gut right now. And there is going to be margin on that. We may clear 100,000 on it. The homeowner's long gone, and it's 3 to 6 months later. So anyway, appreciate your comments and for challenging what you feel as the status quo is. I would say get on the phone with the homeowner, do a deal of somebody that's in foreclosure, and you see what's happening to their family. You will be thinking differently when you see us what we do. So. Anyway,
the comments
thanks,
were funny, and that would have been a homeowner who would have not been able to diffuse that guy. I love the questions. We want to take care of homeowners, but he's the smartest man in the room.
There was no pleasing him. Let's move on.
Everybody, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Everybody has an opinion, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could bring the last 5 homeowners of the homes that we have bought and sold that we have actually made good money on to come on here and to have them answer questions for him. And I'm saying, why are you doing their battle for them? They were getting nothing and about ready to get kicked out on their head. We provide a nice transition. So do a deal and then come back and tell us how you feel. David, how's it going, brother?
What's up?
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Blood
David,
pressure.
I know you well. This should be a much more pleasant conversation. What do you got for us, man?
Hey, real quick, I'm just trying to work myself into a place where I can, in good conscience, knock doors and have some confidence. So I'm knocking doors out here in Southeast Phoenix. I've got the list. Michael, thank you so much for what you're doing. And your tech support team is amazing. They got me all squared away. So thanks for getting me connected with, I believe it's Kadri, I think it is.
Yeah, Kadri. Yep.
Yeah, Kadri. So anyway, you got me all squared away. Here's the scenario I have in my mind. So I'm knocking doors. I know at some point I'm going to have someone who says, yeah, come on in. Let's talk this through. And I've got all my energy in just getting to the door, knocking on the door, but I don't feel like I got my stuff together once I get in the door, other than the first conversation of here's the 5 options. But I don't have contracts ready to go. I don't have a transaction coordinator. I don't have a team yet. So I'm trying to figure out how can I really connect where I feel in good conscience I can say, hey, I'm working with a team, and let me bring somebody else to the discussion with me and get moving forward.
David, there's a person right above you on the screen that's in your market. She's done a few. But David, we're in a community of people that you don't have to know the next step. So if you need help with some conversational stuff, let's practice it. If you need help filling out contracts, you're in a community that knows how to do that, and I could send you umpteen videos of going over those. If you need help finding lending or stopping a foreclosure sale, we can help you out with that. That's the cool thing. Our good friend Pace has a wonderful story, his origin story of his first deal. I can't remember.
Yeah, the rabbits.
What's that?
The rabbits.
No, not the rabbits necessarily. His mentor that pushed him to do things. Pace, You're really talented. Why are you being my contractor, right? What you're going to do, you're going to go on this website. You're going to download some data. You're going to send direct mail through that service. Okay, well, what do I do next? Don't worry about it. Just send the direct mail. Someone calls. Oh my gosh, someone called me. They left a voicemail. They want to sell their house. What do I do? Well, call them back, you dummy. So he gets on the phone. He has a conversation, sets up an appointment. Oh my gosh, I have an appointment. Like, what do I say? What's the contract? Okay, go over there. Kind of here's how your framework is. Have that conversation. Just be yourself. See how you can provide value, right? So he goes through the appointment. You know, the bunny story, etc. They don't want to sell him the house. It's not enough money. But he's like, well, I'm here. How can I serve you? Well, there's the Cadbury bunnies or whatever they're called back in the back of the house. Well, I can, get rid of those for you. A couple of weeks go by. She comes back. Well, I want to sign a contract with you, Pace. Mentor, I don't know how to sign a contract. Here's the paper. Here's how you go through it. And so on and on and on and on and on until this deal netted him whatever. Right. And that is what real mentorship looks like. Not just saying, I'm going to blow information through a fire hose and expect you to know it all. It's, hey, let's take this step by step. Don't worry about the next step until you've completed that one. Then you've completed that deal. I'm like, holy cow, look at all that I learned on this deal. Does that mean you know everything? Absolutely not. That was transaction one. But over dozens, hundreds, thousands of transactions, over time, you put more and more tools into your tool belt. But that's what a community is for, to have a bunch of people with a bunch of different experience levels that when you have a problem, oh my gosh, I got a seller. This is awesome. I need to talk to them. Can anyone help me talk to the seller? 100%. Same thing with all the other things.
All right.
David, where do you live?
Chandler.
Dude, you're probably 15 minutes from me.
How do I find you?
Well, you can't. I'm unfindable. I'm untraceable.
You live under a rock. Get on Instagram. Follow Caroline.
Yeah, message me on Instagram. I'll reply back to you on Instagram.
And see if we can find
cool.
a spot.
Yeah. I don't know where I live. No, I will. I have family in town this weekend. It's kind of a weird time of the year, but I'll go door knocking with you. I got to take some of my team members. I think Melissa's on here. I took Melissa door knocking 2 weeks ago. So it's all you need to do. It's going to be, I even asked Michael this. Michael even said this. I get scared sometimes when I go back to door knock because I don't like getting yelled at. Like, I don't want to deal with confrontation. It's not fun. But the biggest thing I would like to say is, like, when you know that you're going to serve the homeowner at the highest level and you know you're going to get them taken care of, that's why I got into this. This is why I started helping homeowners in pre-foreclosure. So I bring all of that up to say, just start knocking. So message me on Instagram and we can go door knocking sometime.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now say one nice thing to us quickly because it was a little stressful before you came on.
You guys are amazing. Y'all had a really solid answer. Your heart's in the right spot. I love it.
Look, and we've got if we are to love our brother. Pete had a question. He's genuinely concerned because I can see the optic.
Genuine concern.
And when you are presenting, hey, we just made a crap load of money on this deal. He's saying, how's that ethical? That is now that's a fine tightrope walk. Are we jealous that somebody else is making that kind of money and we aren't? Where's the ethics line? You do have to have ethics and values in this. But I would love somebody in the group to grab him and get on some of the calls with homeowners, have him shadow and see what you do and engage. And I think seeing this side of it, what Michael and I have done after 600-700 deals and, me doing it from the late 1900s. And I took a little break from this and I'm like, I want to get back into it. I love it. I love talking to the homeowners. I love hearing their stories. You do cry with the homeowners. It's the saddest thing to hear some of their stories. But you don't know what the end of the deal is for us. You know how you can help them. That is tangible and you can quantify that. But there is no, end game until you renovate, list, you negotiate realtor fees, all that stuff. And then you get to the end, you're like, yeah, we killed it. Or, oh, that one sucked, because you have good and bad deals. It's just the nature of this business.
Well, I've been a pastor for 35 years and I was watching him thinking this guy's got some trauma somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
That's my real license plate. I'm waiting for a cop to pull me over and make me take the little heart sticker on, and then it's going to say,
David, you might be able to help us. I bet you've had more than one congregation member disagree with a direction of things. You probably had to diffuse people over the years.
Hey, the last 2 election cycles have been amazing as a pastor.
I
I just have to go on the record and say, I listen, I have a really, really diverse congregation, and I just preached the cross the whole time through.
Yeah.
And didn't make it. Neither bunch was happy.
Yep.
Caroline, you got to post what Donald Trump declared you as, because there was part of the group. There was, hey, if this one wins, I'm moving out of the country. The other one's, if this one wins, I'm moving out of the country. And it's just like, if you do,
that means people are selling their house. Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's get the economy moving, regardless of what side of the aisle you're from. So, but David, thank you for your good work. Keep it up.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. I'll connect with you. Message me and I'll connect with you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have one more behind the stage here. So I'm going to bring Enoch up.
Cool.
What's going on?
Enoch.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Dream, baby.
Well, how about you?
Good. I'm excited to be here. Question for you. In reference to stopping the sheriff's sale, once you present that agreement of contract, can that contract be JV or wholesale?
What state?
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
You an Eagles fan?
Man, I don't have time for sports, man. That's not my thing, but Eagles is flying.
Okay. Just curious.
Can you teach me how to let go of the Chiefs, man?
Yeah.
Bobby saw firsthand how stressed I get during those games the other day. It ages me. My spot up top gets bigger and bigger every week. Tell me how to let go.
Yeah.
Listen, man, when I was in school, right? Sports wasn't my thing, but gymnastics, yeah, that's my sport.
There you go.
I never got a kick out of watching somebody, run after a ball and tapping each other on the butt. That's not my thing.
I like it.
Well, yeah, I like them catching and scoring a touchdown. That's a lot funner than tapping each other on the butt. So, okay, so your question, Philadelphia, your question is about stopping a sheriff's sale, and can you assign that contract?
Yes.
Are you talking about stopping the sale and then assigning it afterward, or trying to assign it and close on it before the sale?
Well, after once you present it to the sheriff's sale, that agreement, can you JV that agreement?
Yes, you can. But what I always want to make sure when I wholesale a foreclosure property is making sure that end buyer is solid, right? Because we're messing with one's life, their financials for the foreseeable future. So 1000%, if you're wholesaling something before the sale, you better make sure that person is good to go and that you've done a lot of business with them, or you need to have the ability to close on it. 2, let's say you stop the sale for a week, 2 weeks, whatever the timeline is in your state. Just make sure that person's ready to go, because you don't want that call from the seller when it's like, the house foreclosed, you said you were going to buy it, and everything was ready to go. There's some situations where it's all out of your control. There's huge liens. There's other things that prevent you from doing it. But in those situations where you're wholesaling these deals, you really need to vet your people. 1000%.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Enoch.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of wisdom behind this man, I can tell.
Keep doing cartwheels, brother.
What was that statement?
I just said.
Oh, from him? I thought it was me. Mine was keep doing cartwheels, keep you limber. Probably more applicable and relevant comment was from Michael.
Yeah, I was just commenting on how much wisdom there looked to be behind you with all your reading. It's so organized.
Yeah, this is my law library, right? Now, here's the thing. I'm not even a lawyer. I'm considered a juris counsel.
Okay.
But these books came to me from my personal life, dealing with the government, dealing with the IRS. I had to go and find out what the law states for myself, and it got me out of a lot of jams. And over the years, I got the whole book. The whole room is full of books, man. That's my thing. I just do research.
Educate yourself. I like it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on and asking your questions.
What was that?
Yeah. I was just saying, thanks for coming on and asking your questions. It was nice to meet you. Well, Michael and Bobby, I know we got derailed there for a little bit. You guys have good points. It was good. Those are good questions to ask. I want to be mindful of your time. It's already 1:15 here. I know we did not get to everybody's questions in the side chat, so I just took a note. I want to try and come back to them. What we can do next week, if you guys found any value today, and again, like what Bobby said, go thank Pete for his questions. Those were really good. Let's go show that guy some love. Those are valid questions. At the end of the day, though, let's take care of the homeowner. What I want to keep reminding you guys, this is a Thursday live. So if you have not already, please like this video, because Michael and Bobby were very calm when they responded with them. And I was like, I'm going to sit back, because if somebody's not willing to hear us, I don't know if we can get through them. But please like this video, subscribe to our channels if you have not already. Every Thursday at 12 o'clock, we are live. It's on Arizona time, so it's Mountain Standard Time right now, to help you guys out and answer them. But we had a lot of questions, and there's no way we're going to be able to get to them all today. So bring your questions to the lives on Thursday. And then Michael and I are very responsive on Instagram. Michael replies every Saturday. Does it matter when you do it? You go live and answer questions through Instagram all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you guys for coming. Michael and Bobby, thank you for sharing your wisdom. You guys have way more experience than me. I'm learning from you. And the biggest thing I can tell all of you, if I'm just a girl from a cornfield that has ADD and has some dyslexia and I can make money in this business, you can too. Go help somebody. Go take the first step. I'm going to hand the reins over to Michael and Bobby, and we'll close it out.
Oh, appreciate you all guys all in here. That conversation earlier with Pete was actually really healthy. I wish we could have done it a little bit longer in a more calm manner, but his sentiment is the average American's sentiment towards a real estate investor. They're going to cheat you. They're going to lowball you. They're going to be a greasy car salesman type. And that's what we're trying to change. That's been one of my founding principles, so to speak, of what we're trying to do with niche. So I hear his concern, and what we have to do as people that are treating sellers the right way is do enough of those transactions to where sellers start saying something a little bit different. It's about, wow, those investors, they of course want to make some money, but pretty good people. They really treated us right. And that's the sentiment that we have to change to. Bobby, you can wrap us up.
Well said. Go follow Pete and on Instagram and Facebook. And then the only thing I regret, Caroline, is that while we were having that dialogue, you didn't chant Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. But good discussion. I wish we could have got to more of the questions in the chat, because it is so fun doing this. When you love what you do, this can be a side hustle. It can be your full-time hustle. It is fun helping families navigate through probably one of the most catastrophic times of their life and helping them come out the other end with dignity. And yes, you can make money on those scenarios, and yes, they are okay with it. And maybe we do, well, we don't want to expose a homeowner, but I wish I could share some of the letters from the homeowners and have someone give a testimonial to change. And maybe the group already knows that. But anyway, great discussion. Thanks for having us on. You always do a great work.
All right, guys, we'll see you next Thursday. Have a great day. Go knock on somebody's door, go text them, go call them. We're here to help you guys out.